All right, let's go to Steve in Houston. Steve, you're on the line.
Yeah, hey, good evening, Jason. Hey, earlier this week, I think it was on Tuesday, there was an article on INFOWARRIOR.com. I don't know if you remember seeing this, but it was about, and I don't remember who wrote it, but it was about this Oaks apartment complex out in Oregon and how they told a guy that he couldn't have an American flag on his motorcycle. Do you remember that?
I did not see that article, no.
Yeah, well, like usual, trying to be proactive, I took the liberty of looking up the number for this place, called it on Wednesday the 14th, and the guy that answered, I mentioned why I was calling. Well, I just said I'd like to talk to management. He goes, well, how'd you like to talk to the owner? I said, sure. He goes, you're talking to him. So I explained why I was calling, and the article, what it said was that this apartment complex, which has their own banners that they fly, is telling, this one resident and subsequently other ones they can't fly the American flag. So I promptly proceeded to talk to this owner of the complex out there and it's, of all things, Albany, Oregon. It's called the Oaks Apartment, about this situation, and what he told me was that, this is because the property manager misinterpreted the fair property laws. Now, are you familiar with those?
No, not at all, but I'm going to guess that they're kind of like some little union where they say you can't have this on your property, or you're not allowed to have, a grill outside, or you're supposed to keep your lawn at a certain length, all these little Nazi tactics to keep you in line and conform.
Yeah, well, what he said was fair property laws, what it has to do with is that if you let one, you're going to have to let everybody. So the way he explained it to me, if I let, if we let this guy have an American flag, we got to let people put up a Nazi flag, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I told him, I said, first of all, this is America. We're supposed to fly the American flag. This is the United States of America. That flag represents the people of this nation, which are the actual government. And he also said that he doesn't like how stories on the Internet misinterpreted the situation, but he got things straightened out, and so this guy or any resident can have an American flag on their motorcycle, car, apartment, etc. But he said, I find it interesting that this guy's so patriotic. He rides a rice burner, meaning a foreign-made, motorcycle, and, and said some other things. He said, sir, look, I don't know about all that. It's the principle of the situation. This is America. That man has a right, and he should, as an American, fly the American flag. And I said, if the fair property laws are what you're saying they are, then what you need to do is have some principle as an American and stand up for what's right as an American citizen, regardless of that. He said, well, then we'll be fined. I said, well, so be it. You got to stand up for principle. And I'll tell you something, Jason. Alex today was talking about his frustration, and I'm leading into this with that, about how people just seem to be so stupid and uncooperative when it comes to waking them up to this situation of the New World Order and what they're doing. And I just had this thought, it's a lot easier to be a slave, to go with the status quo, to go with the flow in your mind immediately anyway, than to do what's right and stand for freedom and be a citizen and understand that there is a price. That old saying, eternal vigilance is the price of freedom. But what these people don't understand is what they think is easy right now, in the long run, it's going to cost them a whole lot more than it's going to cost us who are taking a stand for what we know is right now. It may cost us our lives, etc., but at least we'll know that we're standing for what's right and be, doing the business of trying to wake up as many of our fellow human beings as we can, because, that's what really matters. It's standing for principle and standing for what's right, regardless of the cost, and that's the problem. There's a cost, and the average American today doesn't want to pay that cost because they're lazy.
Well, not only they're lazy, they're victims of groupthink. And again, I was in Twin Peaks watching the game yesterday just because I came into work and I wanted to stop and get something to eat with the graphics guy, and it was just total group tribal mentality. Everybody just high-fiving one another like this game meant something. It didn't mean anything, Steve. I thank you so much for the call. All it meant was they could wave a little flag and drink some beers and say, we're better than Oklahoma. We're better than you're. Those are states. Texas and Oklahoma, I don't think one's better than the other. We're all human beings. No, we got a better football team, boy. You see that spiral? It was all the way downfield. Boom. And I think they even have fantasy leagues for college football now. I know that the Hoosiers out there, even on the way in, all right, I'm in my little cubicle today. I'm in my little cubicle, typing away, printing up some articles, looking for what I'm going to talk about on the show today. And I hear who's talking about, I don't know, 2 players or something. He just threw a 30-yard pass. He picked it up and brought it all the way down. I think he's talking to me. And I'm like, dude, I don't even know what the hell you're talking. He's on the cell phone. And he's like, it's burning me up right now. Oh, man, my old lady called me. I can't believe this. People are hooked into fantasy land. And, you know, I'm sad I'm even making an example out of him. Let's make an example out of somebody else. Final Fantasy Online, World of Warcraft. These people are engulfed in fantasy world. I'm a level 12 warlock with a super magic power. And I mean, let me give you an example. I used to go down to this little computer shop in Oneonta, New York, because a lot of people didn't know how to fix computers out there. You'd have to go all the way to Albany. They only knew a little bit more than me or had some equipment that I didn't have, okay? They owned this little place. It was called, I think it's ISD, okay? Now, I go in there, and over like an 18-month period, this one guy, he's in his late 40s, early 50s, easy. Late 40s, early 50s, easy. Now, when I first used to go in there, he was working on computers all the time. He had a laptop open, or he'd have a desktop open, and he'd be installing a system or finding a virus, all that other stuff. I start coming in 6 months later, and he's sitting there playing World of Warcraft every single time. I mean, he is on this thing like, and I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? I'm like, you got a wife, you got kids. What are you doing? I'm like, you have to pay for this monthly. He's like, there's no other better entertainment out there. This is like the greatest game ever. You don't know until you've played it. Well, let me tell you something. I went there about 4 months after these shenanigans that were occurring, and guess what? He was an owner. He got bought out by the other guy and thrown out. He's like, look, man, I need you to work on computers. I need you off the World of Warcraft. And he got so absorbed and so engulfed in a game, in a fantasy world, that he lost his livelihood. And he's a nice guy. I mean, I wish him the best. But at the same time, it's like, dude, step up to the plate and be a real man and get out of this little fantasy box. Look, I like playing Mortal Kombat every once in a while. You know, I like a little Soul Calibur here and there. I like to play Doom. You know, Grand Theft Auto may not be my thing, but I understand people that play it. I'll play a little Metroid, a Mario title. But I can't tell you the last time I even picked up a video game controller. It's probably like, I don't know, 3-6 weeks ago. I played it for 20 minutes and I put it down because I'm an adult. And there are adults out there, people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, that dedicate 6, 10, 12 hours to these things. Okay, I've worked with people. I'm not going to name any names, but they are online playing, you know, Conflict, Desert Storm, or what's one of the big shooters out there? One of the big war ones out there. I can't even think. I know there's a ton of them out there. But they're on these things, and they're like, Delta 5, yeah, we got them around the corner. Yes, Call of Duty's a big one. There's some other ones out there, too. But it boggles my mind. How can you be so wrapped up in this fantasy? We'll be back after this. It's the InfoWarrior with Jason Bermas.